Well, we're the third largest county in the nation, and we have 34 municipalities, and one of which is the fourth largest city in the nation, the city of Houston. We have 1,800 square miles, and you compare that, say, to Rhode Island, which has 1,500 square miles. And our population is 4.1 million, which is greater than the population of 24 states in our country. And we are the global energy capital of the world. Well, that's redundant. We're the global energy capital. And but you look at the ship channel, the petrochemical industry, the aerospace, NASA, the medical center, and truly we're the engine that drives Texas. So we attract the best and the brightest, but we're also a magnet for the worst of predators. And as far as my background, from law enforcement to practicing as a litigator of civil, criminal, and family law, and then as a judge for all those years, and having a passion for the law. And then the people I brought in with me with their experience, most of whom were former prosecutors and defense attorneys, some of whom were judges. And it was kind of a melding, if you will. Somebody ought to do something. Well, we're the somebodies, and we're doing it. Make no mistake, all right, we are tough on crime, but we're focusing on violent crime. We're focusing on the predators. And when you have finite resources, then you have to marshal them and utilize them in the most effective way possible to protect our people, and that's what we're doing. But we now have a policy that we will not file a drug charge unless there's 1/100th of a gram, because that's the smallest amount that can be tested twice. So previous to that, people were being arrested if they had a flake on their lip or mucus extruding from their nose and a little Q-tip, and it tested positive, but then the evidence was destroyed. So what we've asked for and are requiring is that there be a sufficient quantity that it can be tested twice, because that's a due process issue. As a result, the number of arrests for possession of less than 1 gram, which in effect is less than 1/100th of a gram, has declined considerably. So we've reduced the jail population by about 3,000 arrests this year for that offense. Now stop and think, those officers are not being taken out of service. And these people aren't booked into jail. And booking and releasing people from jail is quite complex, and it's labor intensive. So the officers are now out there on the streets, and the arrests that they're making for burglary of habitation and buildings has risen. So what we've done by this is made Harris County safer. I want to put the worst of the worst in our jail. Okay? I want to put the gangbangers in there who say they own the night, because we're going to shine the light of day on them. In the late 70s, there was this great movement to deinstitutionalize our mental institutions. And so instead of the state housing and caring for people, they're living under bridges. And we have quite a large homeless population, if you will, a third of whom are incapable mentally of caring for themselves. And so they cycle through our jail, and most of them are victims of crime, so they end up in the emergency room. So it's this emergency room jail, emergency room jail. What I'm hoping to do, because they get arrested on nuisance offenses, relieving themselves in public, trespassing, things like that, is to have the foundations, the NGOs, MHMRA, create residential treatment centers for these individuals where they can reside in what they call single room occupancy, and your medical providers are on staff, and they'll have their nutrition, and it'll be sort of a custodial type of facility so that they're cared for. And most of these people are eligible for SSI and for Medicaid and so forth, so it can actually pretty well pay for itself. It's just a matter of putting, all the pieces together. And what happens is these individuals keep getting arrested, same over and over again. They keep getting re-diagnosed over and over again. And we've squandered so many resources and haven't really helped them to any sense of normality. So I think it's a moral imperative. I think every major district attorney's office needs it. We have 50,000 felony cases a year filed in Harris County on the average, over 80,000 misdemeanor cases. You can't have that volume without errors being made. Plus, you're aware of the debacle that we had with the crime lab some years ago. Public trust and confidence in the system is everything. If you're to have civil order, you have to have the public trust the system. They have to have confidence that it's fair, that the law is applied equally. And so I created this post-conviction review section, and it is separate and apart from the appellate division and reports directly to the first assistant. So they're completely independent to investigate all claims of actual innocence. To the contrary, transparency, I think, is everything. I'm a very conservative individual. I believe that government exists to protect the people. That's why we surrender some of our divinely endowed rights, is for law and order. But it's got to be fair. And so when we acknowledge that errors have been made and resolve to do better in the future and to learn from past mistakes, then that increases confidence. The lab, for one thing, is absolutely critical, and to use science more than we have in the past. You see, when an innocent person is convicted, that's truly a triple tragedy. The individual falsely imprisoned, the victim and society have no justice, and the criminal actually is free, or criminals, and go on to commit more offenses. It's the preservation of civil order. It's the protection of our people. It's being both sword and shield, but trust and fairness are the bedrock. It's the rule of law.